Hi, welcome to Session 6. In this session we're going to talk about minor seventh chords and suspended chords. They have a little bit more color in them than the basic chords that we've been talking about so far, but they still are open chords that involve open strings. We're also going to talk about strumming and strumming with ties, which gets a little bit more complicated but sure makes it sound a little bit more musically interesting when we do it. In the guitar tips section, we're going to talk about practicing strumming patterns without music. We'll work with music here, but I also want to talk about doing it without music because that's the kind of situations that you're going to be in when you're trying to play with friends or in a group situation like that. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay, now let's talk about the minor seventh chords. There's 3 minor seventh chords we're going to cover in this section. A minor seventh, D minor seventh, and E minor seventh. Abbreviated A, little m, 7. The little m and the 7 is telling you it's a minor seventh chord. So let's look at that A minor seventh chord first. Okay, it's a 5-string chord. Everything in the A family is going to be a 5-string chord. So there's nothing happening on that 6th string. We have open A, second finger on that E, open G, first finger C, and open E. Let's play it all together. Kind of like a C chord if you take your 3rd finger off. It's pretty much the same thing. Now let's talk about D minor seventh. This one is a little bit different from the others. It's a 4-string chord. All the Ds are 4-string chord. So let's look what's happening here. We've got open D. I've got my 2nd finger on this A, and here's the problem right here. I need to put my 1st finger, he needs to cover 2 strings at once. He needs to pull double duty. I've got an F, and I've also got a C that I need to cover. Now, I guess I could really do that, but that's not really the right way to do it. Put your 2nd finger on that A, and then I want you to put your 1st finger down over both of those strings. Now, we're in the baby pool of bar chords. This is the introduction to bar chords. Let me show you let me talk about this for a second because it's a pretty big concept. What you don't want to do is raise this wrist up because it's hard to push down those 2 strings. You raise that wrist up, you crank this up here, and you end up doing something like this. Now, it may work a little bit, but when we get to more complex bar chords, you'll see that that is not going to work for you very well at all. So here's what you need to do. Lower that wrist, put your finger out. Your joint will go in, but it will also go a little bit inverted. Not very much, but it'll go a little bit inverted. It's the inverted, how the muscles are there is how you do these bar chords, especially these little ones like that. Get your finger over those 2 strings, kind of invert that. That's a good way to get a lot of pressure focused into one spot. If you try and do it by just raising your wrist and pulling your finger back, it's not a very efficient way to do it. Put that wrist down, put that finger in front, pressing down, inverting that 1st finger, catching that. Now try and add that A to it. So now look what I've got going. I've got one joint that's going normal, one that's going inverted. I'm doing 2 different things with 2 different joints. It's a little bit tricky to do it first. But that's a D minor seventh. Once you do it a couple times, you'll get the hang of it. Okay? The last one is an E minor seventh we're going to talk about. E's, family of E chords, 6 strings. Okay? It's 2 different fingerings we can use, 2 different alternate fingerings on this. Let me teach you the first one. This is the one I like, but you don't necessarily have to do it like I do. There's different guys do it different ways. Open E. Now I put my 1st finger on this B. Then I have 2 open strings, a D and a G. Then I have my 3rd finger on this high D.